leaves rustle, the wind whispers, and the veil between the living and the dead grows thin. Halloween is coming. What's going on, everyone? This is Steven from After Hours Video, and tonight on After Dark, we're diving headfirst into the Halloween essentials, the movies, the monsters, and the stories that make this season unforgettable. And joining me tonight is Daniel from the Cobwebs Channel. What's going on, Daniel?
Blessed Samhain, my friend. Yeah, thanks for having me, man. Halloween
Absolutely.
is the best.
Oh, yeah.
I talk about so many Halloween movies on my channel, as many as I possibly can. So
Yeah.
this is gonna be fun. This is my bread and butter.
Oh, man. So before we get rolling, how did it all start for you? I mean, these rituals, these movie marathons, I mean, did it go far back for you, like to the video store days, or like where did it all begin for you?
Yeah, back to my dad. I'm a big Halloween guy primarily because of him, because he's a
Okay.
big Halloween guy. He introduced me to the Universal monsters when I was a kid, and that's
Mhm.
my gateway into horror on the whole. But he loved Halloween. So we would always make a big deal out of Halloween. I would always get so excited for my costume and trick or treating, and we would a lot of times make our own Halloween decorations. Like I remember putting a bunch of pieces of construction paper together to make like a Frankenstein and a skeleton and hang
Oh,
those up and stuff.
that's fun.
So yeah, Halloween was big for him. So it's always been big for me. And it's now really big for my son.
Oh,
Like
that's
I didn't
special.
even anticipate how much I would pass on Halloween to him, but he's obsessed and he's 2 years old.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, start
It's
it
crazy.
early, you build these traditions and
Yeah.
especially because I think for each of us, it's like you want them to be able to experience those memories and um I don't know. Halloween is just a very special time of year. Um well, with that being said, so Daniel's stopping by After Hours Video to share his insights, scares, and favorite Halloween horrors, from haunted houses to unstoppable killers, from creeping shadows to things that go bump in the night. We'll explore the films that make your heart pound and your skin crawl. Before we get started, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification so you never miss future videos. So dim the lights, listen closely, and as the autumn wind howls, know that Halloween's terrors are closer than you think. So I know you and I went back and forth for a little bit trying to finalize some of our Halloween essentials that we would recommend to someone, especially for this time of year. And I figured there was no better starting point than I think for a lot of us would consider this a seminal classic, and that's none other than George A. Romero's Night of the Living Dead. Um, so Daniel, where did your discovery of this movie come from? Was this through your dad, or did you find out this or about this movie out on your own, or how did that come to be?
On my own, my dad, he definitely didn't show it to me. I don't remember him really talking about it. But yeah, I discovered it. I don't exactly remember how. It's just one of those like when you decide you're going to be a big horror fan and you
Mm,
just kind of seek out like what are all the big ones. That's one of the ones that you have to see. And I remember when I watched it thinking, this is the only black and white horror film I've ever seen that I think is scary.
yeah,
And to be clear, I love black and white horror. I love so many black and white horror movies, but I'm generally not scared by them. Like I'm not scared of the Universal monsters. I just
yeah,
love them. I've since seen some other black and white movies that I would put in there, but at the time, like I don't know, even though I'd seen zombies before, the way George Romero films like the people just eating flesh off of bones, it's very unsettling. And
yeah.
I think it's creepier than most other zombie movies. And even though like there are definitely other zombie movies that I prefer that I think are more fun, like I like Dawn of the Dead more, for
Okay,
instance. But this is still, I think it's the creepiest zombie movie. It just kind of gets under your skin. But it's very, very good. I have massive respect for it. I think it's like the horror film of the 1960s.
oh
Not the
yeah,
best, but it's the film that like kind of personifies the especially tumultuous political landscape that was the 1960s. And there's so much of that in this movie.
hmm
So it feels really powerful.
absolutely. And that's another big thing about this film, and I would say Romero's Dead trilogy as a whole is that there's so much social commentary mixed in throughout it, and the message for each one of these movies, I feel like still rings true all these years later, which is just, I think, what makes these movies so timeless, and obviously the horror aspect of it as well. So before we dive into this movie, when the dead begin to stir in the quiet Pennsylvania countryside, a small group of strangers barricades themselves inside a farmhouse, desperate to survive the night. As terror closes in from outside, tensions rise within, and the line between the living and the dead starts to blur. A bleak, raw, and unrelenting film, George A. Romero's classic changed horror forever. Um, so, getting into this film, what do you think made Night of the Living Dead feel so different than the horror films that came before it?
Yeah, I mean, Night of the Living Dead is it's a game changer for sure, because especially like for zombies, like it created the modern zombie genre, because the
Mhm.
zombie genre existed before, but it was all about voodoo, Haitian witchcraft. And it's this old folklore in Haiti about how you can like give somebody a special potion, they will die, but then you bring them back, and then they're basically your slave.
Mhm.
And it makes sense that a country that has such a history of being enslaved would come up with
For
folklore
sure.
about this. And I think there's some really good voodoo zombie movies. Like I do like White Zombie, but I love Plague of the Zombies. That's my favorite one. It's so good.
Oh, hell
But then
yeah.
this one comes along, and George Romero didn't know it was a zombie movie, which makes perfect sense because it's not like the zombie genre existed, and it is not this. This is a completely different thing. And he just called
Yeah.
them ghouls. And if you look at folklore around ghouls, that makes much more sense. Like it's
Yeah.
much more this. Um, but it was just such a smash success movie, not necessarily financially for George Romero, that it ended up defining like this whole thing going forward, which is amazing.
It's
So yeah, it's also just like it's more violent and it's more transgressive than horror movies usually were at that time. So it's a big deal for sure.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, I mean, getting further into the plot of the movie, we have this entire film, for the most part, that takes place within the farmhouse. And I think what's so fascinating about it is that it feels like it's both a shelter, but also a trap in a lot of ways. How do you feel like Romero used that setting to build dread throughout the entire film?
I mean, I think he probably picked that setting because it's cheap, because this is a very cheap movie. Um, but I tend to like farmland atmosphere movies. I actually made a whole video on my channel about farmland set movies. And funny enough, I didn't even think to include Night of the Living Dead because I think because it's so dark, like I
Yeah.
don't like can associate it with farmland atmosphere necessarily. But a good way that that setting tends to be used in horror is it's pretty isolating.
Oh,
So you just
yeah.
don't have a lot of people around or a lot of other things around. So if something goes down, um, there's not a lot of help you can turn to.
No. No, not at all. Um, now there's obviously a number of different standout moments that happen in this film, but what was that first moment in the film that made you feel really uneasy? Was it the graveyard scene? The zombies' hands breaking through the door? What was it for you?
Definitely not the graveyard scene, because the graveyard scene feels like the one at the beginning feels like classic horror and
Mhm.
like Bill Hinsman, I believe, is the actor who plays the zombie there. Like he kind of feels like a Boris Karloff Frankenstein,
Yeah.
coming at you and everything. For me, it was the long montage. It's probably about halfway into the movie, maybe a little bit more, where you're just kind of watching the zombies eat flesh. And it's just
Oh,
all of
it's
these
gnarly.
shots of them just kind of tearing the flesh off the bones, just chewing. They're just looking around. And I'm just like, like it's
Yeah.
just gross. And I've seen gorier zombie movies, but I feel like sometimes when we're going to talk about a movie like this actually a little bit later, but
Yeah.
sometimes when a movie is so gory, like I kind of get desensitized to it. And I'm just like,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
it's gore, sure. But this movie is like kind of classy and it's classic, it's black and white. And so when you're seeing that, you're just like, I feel like I shouldn't be watching this in this
Yep.
movie. And it feels unsettling, but it's great. It's really, really good.
Well, and I think it's so crazy because in a lot of ways, I mean, going with the black and white look to it, I mean, it really, that we know that it's gory, but for the sake of the film and maybe the rating, kind of sidesteps that a little bit and allows it to kind of be, I'm sure, maybe a little bit more in tune to his actual vision. Now, over the course of this movie, there's really a feeling of what I would consider a total collapse, and it's not just of, society, but I would say safety and trust amongst one another. Do you think that's the scariest part of it, or would you consider it more of like the zombie threat?
What is the scariest part? What about trust?
I would say the total collapse of like society, not
Okay.
feeling safe, lack of trust. Um,
Um, I mean, for me, I'd probably say the zombies, but one thing the zombie genre is really good at is like highlighting problems among people.
mhm,
Because like I love zombies, but zombies are not some of the most interesting movie monsters. So you really need
fair.
like stuff going on between the people to like keep it interesting. And this movie's good at that. I think there are a lot of zombie movies that are better at, like I think Dawn of the Dead is better at this.
Okay.
But this one's good. A frustrating thing about a lot of horrible situation movies like this is a lot of times if people could just work together better, it would be okay. Like literally last night, I just rewatched Saw 2,
Okay. Yep.
and it's kind of frustrating watching all these people in there because I'm like,
Yeah.
they could make it out of this if they would
Yeah.
just get together, like just talk about this, think it through, and work together. Like this is doable. But in Saw 2, it makes sense. Like they're a bunch of convicts. They're not good at trusting
The
people
most
and
the most
such.
flawed individuals to try to come
Yeah.
together.
Yeah. Like especially when the girl sticks her hands through the glass and it's those shards in there. And
Oh.
I'm just like, there's a baseball bat in the house. Like just smash that glass. You can
There
get
has
that
to be,
antidote.
right?
You'll be fine.
Oh my gosh. I pre-ordered the 4Ks that are coming out here in a couple weeks, and I'm so excited to revisit those because the only one that I've really watched maybe more recently was the first one.
Mhm.
So I'm very, very excited to just binge those and have like a movie marathon, go through 2 through 4. Um,
Mhm.
Now, how much of the horror that we see in Night of the Living Dead comes from the people inside turning on each other?
You know, I think this one's really interesting in that way because most zombie movies have the the dickhead character who just like ruins everything and he's so selfish and it's pretty cut and dry. In this one, it's kind of less cut and dry because the whole way we feel like we're on Ben's side because Ben is handsome, he's strong,
Mhm.
across like a man, a leader, and we're just like, yeah, this is the guy. And I can't remember what's the bald guy's name. I'm forgetting. It's like
Uh, y
Harry.
yeah,
Yeah,
Harry Cooper.
and Harry just
Yep.
comes off like a dick and like is like, you don't want to listen to this guy. But
Yeah,
Harry's not even necessarily that wrong. And like if everybody just got along with his ideas, it might have turned out better. So this movie is like really not black and white in that way,
I see what you did
which is
there.
interesting. Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the
Uh,
way, I have a hot take about that. George
okay.
Romero says he only casted Dwayne Jones because of acting. He didn't think about race. I say that's BS. Like in 1968, you
Yeah.
had to have been thinking about it.
I mean, and it's well, and I feel like it's been interesting reassessing this movie, obviously, for the sake of us covering it. And more recently, we got the Night of the Living Dead 90s 4K Steelbook. And so going back and watching that, it's interesting to see that there's a lot of like crossover and similarities with it. But um it's interesting. Ben's character, I feel like it's I can appreciate both portrayals. It's more or less with Barbara, who I think is wildly different
Yeah.
in the 90s remake, which I almost kind of prefer that in some way. I don't know. Um but yeah, it's been cool having a chance to go back and revisit both of them. Now, um the basement finale feels claustrophobic and inevitable. What about that makes it such a powerful closing horror sequence?
I don't remember exactly where it happens in the movie, but definitely the kid
Yeah.
for sure. That part. That's where the movie feels like really transgressive. It's like this is not classic horror. Like we're pushing in very different directions.
Yeah.
And this movie was the same year as Rosemary's Baby, so like 1968 just kind of blew everything up for the genre.
And in very different ways, because those are wildly different films
Yeah,
covering,
wildly different budgets for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. Um, and then obviously we know the ending leaves it on a very brutal, well, it's very brutal and I would say almost sudden. Do you think that that's the most horrifying moment in the film, though, for you?
I mean, I don't know about horrifying, but it it sucks. I think it's so sad.
Yeah.
That feels like the most politically charged moment of the whole movie. Um, and you know, the what it's trying to say is not necessarily something that we've moved past very much as a society, which makes it extra sad. Like it's sad then and it's still sad now.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's kinda definitely doesn't end on a high note. You know, you're kinda left with
No, it's
this
awful.
like, you're very I remember the first time watching it, it was years ago, but it just very unsettled, kinda besides myself. I'm like, "Okay, well, there's that, I guess,"
Yeah.
um, but obviously, it's iconic for a reason, and that's why I figured this was the perfect starting point for us to cover our Halloween essentials. Now, I know you had some handpicked options. Which
Mhm.
one do you wanna kick it off with?
Yeah, you know, we were kind of back and forth on like whether to just do like Halloween holiday centric movies or
Mhm.
not. And obviously we picked not because Night of the Living Dead isn't. This one isn't either, but you know, it's just so the Halloween vibe. So I got my whole Universal Monsters Classics
Oof.
collection here. So
Very
like any Universal Monsters movie is going to be good for Halloween, except
yeah,
maybe the Creature from the Black Lagoon movies because they're very summery.
fair.
But I just
I
went with Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein because you know some people like during October they want to watch like the scariest movies.
Mhm.
And I want some of that, but like October is very like fun horror for me. It's like very festive horror. And that's what this feels like. Like it's just fun. It's hilarious. It's my personal favorite horror comedy because I think it is gut busting funny. It just cracks me up. But then also, I love that the monsters are not a joke, and the monsters are
Yeah.
taken just as seriously as they are in any other Universal Monsters movie. And we just drop a couple of buffoons into it and watch them deal with it, which I think is fantastic. And another thing that makes it remarkable, it's the only other movie that we get Bela Lugosi as Dracula other than the original Dracula. It's the only sequel he came back for or was allowed back for. So that makes it extra special too. So I
What
love
now
having Stella meet Frankenstein.
was this your first exposure to them as like a comedy duo?
Oh, for sure. And for a
Okay.
long time, it was my only exposure. It was only like years later that I started watching more. And I got to say, no Abbott and Costello movie I've seen is even close to this good. Like there's
Uh,
some fun stuff, but
yeah.
they're overall not amazing. But this one is like head and shoulders above the rest, which is funny because Abbott and Costello thought it was terrible while they were making it and they were kind of ashamed of it.
Poor
And I'm
guys.
like, it's your best movie,
Yeah,
guys.
right, right. Um, well, before we dive into this film, I just wanted to real quickly get to the chat. So,
Yeah.
we've got a few people that are joining us right now. So, we've got William joining us. What's up, William? And let's see. We got another regular. So, we got Alexander coming to hang out with us. What's up, Alexander? And let's see. Got Anthony.
Hi,
How's-
Anthony.
Yeah. Thanks for coming to hang out with us. And then we also got Nick. What's happening, Nick? And then Anthony mentioned, I think this is referring back to when we initially were talking about Night of the Living Dead.
Mhm.
Uh, I've heard Bill Heinzman portrayal of the zombie was influenced by Boris Karloff's film, like The Walking Dead 1936. Interesting. Didn't he also do Bill Heinzman? Didn't he also do was it Flesh Eater as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Starred and directed.
Are
Yeah.
you a fan of that one?
Yeah, and that one's actually a Halloween holiday movie. It's got a lot of
Yeah.
Halloween stuff in there. I'm a fan of it. It's a ridiculous movie, but I first watched it with a group of friends and we had a lot of fun watching it, you
Aw,
know.
that's the best.
Yeah,
And he's also saying Universal Monsters are my favorite films of all time. Yeah,
good
there's
choice.
some definitely some gems in there for sure. Um, okay, so before we get started, so when the bumbling comedy duo Abbott and Costello arrive in a small town, they stumble into a terrifying nightmare. Dracula, Frankenstein's monster, and the Wolfman are all on the loose. Terrified yet determined, the duo fumbles through haunted castles, shadowy crypts, and fog-shrouded streets, proving that even the bravest heroes can be the clumsiest. Um, Now, this is very different in tone compared to the first movie we're talking about. So,
Yeah.
and you touched on this. So, how do the classic Universal monsters feel when brought together? Does it feel like more on the scary side of things to you? Do you feel like it's like campy, or do you just consider it iconic?
I guess campy. I mean, it's fun. It's not this movie isn't the first time it happened. The first time would be just Frankenstein meets the Wolfman when you just get Frankenstein and the Wolfman
That's
together.
right.
Then you get House of Frankenstein and House of Dracula. I think House of Frankenstein is awesome. It's so fun. Um, and so this one comes like after all of those. But I just love it. Like the Universal Monsters movies, they kind of feel like a cohesive as a cinematic universe,
Yeah.
so it just makes sense to bring them together. Um, and it's just awesome. I just love it.
Hell yeah. Is there one of the monsters that you think steals the show for you?
In this one,
Yeah.
probably Dracula because I'm just like so happy to see Lugosi back in the
Hell
role.
yeah.
But I love Lon Chaney Jr. as the Wolfman, and like he's as good in this one as he is in any of the other ones. Like he fully goes back into that role, and he's not treating it like a joke at all. And he's always awesome. One of my favorite horror characters of all time.
Was the Universal Monsters, was that a starting place for you for in horror? Like when you were
Yeah,
kinda okay, very
yeah,
cool.
definitely the starting point, not just for horror, but really like for movies. I always say the first movie I can remember being really obsessed with is Dracula, the 1931 one.
Okay,
I don't really remember any favorite movies before Dracula. So,
fair.
yeah, and when I was a kid, I was terrified of horror. Anything more modern, like anything a little bit more modern, I was such a scaredy cat. But Universal Monsters, that was okay. I could handle that. And like Vincent Price
Yeah.
and Hammer stuff, like that was okay. Everything else was way too scary for a long time.
It's more, I feel like it's more accessible, and I don't I've talked about this before in other After Dark episodes, but, um, I think inadvertently, movies like Jaws and Jurassic Park really kinda put me on, and I wouldn't consider Jurassic Park obviously a full-on horror movie, but there are horror elements, I feel like, to it, especially that opening sequence, that
Sure.
that rush that you get from it, especially as a kid, it's like you're almost looking at it like a train wreck, it's horrific and you
Yeah.
want to look away, but you kind of can't help yourself, right? And I blame that in a lot of ways for my love of horror and why why we're here right now, right?
Mhm.
Um,
Absolutely.
so Abbott and Costello are terrified for us, the audience, in a lot of ways. So do their reactions make you more invested in the monsters as a threat?
No, I don't think they make a big difference, because I just love the monsters in general, but they're hilarious. So I
Yeah.
just think the jokes are so funny.
And were there any monster moments that actually creeped you out in the film?
No, I wouldn't say that. That's not
Okay.
this isn't that kind of movie for
Yeah.
me.
Um, now we obviously have, if you want to consider them spooky settings, castles, crypts, the rolling fog that you have in certain sequences. Do you feel like that still works to create the atmosphere? That's
Yeah,
a big
yeah,
part of it?
it's definitely still atmospheric. Not necessarily one of the most atmospheric of the series, I wouldn't say, but it does have that vibe. And you got a castle and everything, and it kind of turns Dracula into a mad scientist role. So he's even got like his mad scientist laboratory and everything that the movie kind of climaxes at, which is a lot of fun.
Awesome. And the last question I had was, how does the combination of shadows, music, and maybe certain timing make certain moments unexpectedly tense throughout the film?
I don't know. You got me. I guess I haven't seen it recently enough.
Yeah, yeah, no worries. Um, Anything else you want to add to about the film? Any memories you have associated with it at all?
No, not necessarily. I just remember watching this one along with all the other Universal Monsters movies as a
Yeah,
kid, and some movies that you love as a kid, you kind of leave behind in childhood. Like I don't still love everything that I loved when I was a kid.
for
Like my
sure.
nostalgic isn't that strong, but these movies, like I've fully taken with me, and like I've always continued loving them. And the more horror comedies I watch, this one is still my favorite. It's because it's the combination of it's got all the horror stuff that I love, but it's just like the funniest.
Oh
Like
yeah.
it's just on a gut reaction level. I just laugh so much when I watch it.
Oh, that's the best. Well, we're gonna much different in tone as far as a Halloween essential. but we're gonna pivot to Tommy Lee Wallace's Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. So, when you were discovering the Halloween films, at what point did you have a chance to see this? Was it back in the video store days for you, or when did you first discover this movie, and did you initially like it?
So I came to the Halloween sequels all as an adult. My dad showed me the original one.
Okay,
But even that one I had to come around on a little bit. Like I wasn't necessarily blown away by Halloween the first time I saw it. Because it's because of when it came out and what it started, it is like the most basic version of that kind of movie.
for sure.
With so many viewings, like by now, it's my favorite one of
Mm,
all those movies. It's my favorite slasher movie. But I had to build up to that. So I came to all the sequels as an adult. And so the first time I tried to watch Halloween 3, I knew it didn't have Michael Myers. I knew the
kind of the premise.
reputation. Yeah.
Okay.
But still, like, I started watching a little bit and I was just like, this is bad. I don't want to watch this. And I turned it
Yeah.
off. And then I finally came back to it years later for some reason. I was like, okay, I'm actually going to watch this. And I loved it. Like, I fell so hard for it. Because I'm just like, this is just such a fun, campy, ridiculous 80s movie. And like, I just love this. And it started to be a movie that I would like show to friends. Like, you got to sit down and watch Halloween 3, you know?
I,
So I've come to have a lot of affection for it by now.
I love the fact that, okay, so taking it back, um, I believe AMC always used to have like the horror movie marathons like way back when. And I remember it felt like they would always play Halloween 3, 4, and 5. And this one, I just remember like it was so far out there. And I knew, like, it kind of going off what you were saying, is that you knew that Michael Myers wasn't in the film, right? But still, nonetheless, I mean, there are some terrifying sequences in this, especially maybe like more so when you're a kid. Um, but even now, I'm like, it feels like you're legit watching some sort of like fever dream or a nightmare with like the way that everything plays out. Um, it's a movie that I've truly grown to love more and more as time has gone on, and I just feel like it has such a unique, uh, like a very unique fingerprint when it comes to Halloween essentials and Halloween horror films that we could be watching around this time of year. Now, before we get started, a doctor stumbles into a terrifying mystery after a patient dies clutching a Halloween mask. His search leads him to a strange small town and a powerful company whose Halloween promotion hides something far darker than anyone suspects. As the holiday draws near, the truth behind Silver Shamrock begins to unfold, and it's something you'll never forget. Kind of like the jingle. I think, like, I feel like when I think of this, for better or worse, that jingle is just, like, etched in my memory forever.
Sure.
Um,
And it should be because it's
yeah.
great. It's
Oh
not
my
even
god.
like annoying, I don't think.
No, no, no. So when you think of Halloween 3, is there maybe a certain image that gives you chills when you think about it?
Oh, Tom Atkins, baby. Chills all day.
Oh
He's
god.
he is the number one thing I associate with this movie, and he is my favorite thing about this movie. Like, I just think Tom Atkins rules.
Yeah.
But he's just like it's fascinating that they follow up. Like, you've got two movies that are very successful teen slasher movies.
Yeah.
And then you go to the next film and you're like, we're going to do an anthology, but also like we want a basic drunk divorced dad to be the main character. And we're going to center the whole movie around this guy. It's so weird because most horror movies do not center around,
No.
some middle-aged guy. But it's so fun. It's kind of like, I don't know. It's like, I don't know, like a Hitchcockian conspiracy thriller or
Yep.
something like that, you know? So they throw an everyman into the main role. But it could have easily have not worked. And some people will
Oh,
still say it
100%.
doesn't work if it wasn't for the fact that Tom Atkins is so fun to watch. And he does have like such a charisma,
And
and he also
charm.
just has all these hilarious lines. And like I think my favorite moment in the movie
Oh god.
is when him and the young lady kind of establish they want to sleep together. And it's like,
Yeah.
where do you want to sleep, Dr. Chalice? It's so funny, but it's so great.
He has so much finesse. You gotta give him props. That man has so much finesse. Stacey Nelkin in this movie is a dime, and it's so funny to me because I agree. It's such a unlikely match,
Yeah.
but it's Tom Atkins. So it's like, I don't know. Yeah, the one that I always think about is the rep that comes to Silver Shamrock. I think it's, is it Marge? Where she's
Oh
like
yeah.
messing around with the chip, and then it just zaps her face. And I remember like the first time seeing that, I was like, what the absolute fuck is going on? Like her whole face is just
Yeah. It's
lasered
awesome.
off, and then you got bugs and all that stuff. That's, I agree with you. I think that in a lot of ways, if they hadn't of maybe taken the big swings that they did, I don't know if it would have worked. I really don't. And I'd always wondered what this, if they had gone in this direction for future sequels, what that direction would have looked like. As much as I love the Halloween movies, in hindsight, I would have loved to have known it were there unused ideas that never got used past Halloween 3, because um it's just something that I think could only exist in the 80s. I don't know. Maybe it's just me on
Mhm.
that. But um now, which moment creeped you out the most? Was it the mask scene, the androids, that final broadcast countdown? What was it for you about this movie?
Yeah, this is a movie where like it is so fun. I think much because of Tom Atkins that like I have to remind myself like what's really going on and how dark it is.
Yeah.
Because like if you really think about the plot, it's a really dark movie, but I almost like miss that because I'm just throwing popcorn in my face having the best time ever watching it. But like I think the scariest, even though like I've never watched Halloween 3 and been scared before, but I think objectively speaking, the scariest moment is the death of the kid in the pumpkin mask.
Oh,
That's one of those moments that's like, again, like it's really fun because the special effects, but it's so crazy that you almost
yeah.
want to laugh and be like, oh my gosh, this movie is so bonkers. It's so insane.
Yeah.
But then you have to like stop and think, wow, they're like brutally murdering this child in
Yeah.
like slow fashion on screen.
And
It's pretty dark.
how often did you really have that? I mean, if you really think about it, I felt like for a lot of movies, the kids were always kind of off limits when it came to that type of stuff. So that's when I went back to watch it, I was like really looking at it through a different lens. I'm like, that's kind of crazy, that they would have gone there,
Mhm.
but it works.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
the whole movie is built around the idea of like murdering most of the children of the world.
it is pretty wild when you think about it.
Yeah.
Um, and then I just real quickly wanted to pop into the chat. So we got Susan joining us. What's up, Susan? She said, just now happened across this. Glad I found it. I don't know if maybe she was talking about the Universal Monsters box that they were showing off earlier.
Nah, I think she means this live stream, dude.
Oh, okay. Hey, I'm here for it. Well, thank you for joining us. And then we got my buddy Dave joining us. So he said, Abbott Costello, meet Frankenstein. Dave's
He's a
a
very
big,
professional picture.
he
I
he
respect
is
that.
very professional. He's one of my good friends. He is very in the know when it comes to horror movies. So
Oh, cool.
great movie as a kid to get horror and comedy and Invisible Man. And let's see, we also got Nick. What's up, Nick? I saw Halloween 3 Young. The scene with the kid in the pumpkin mask scared me or scarred me. Yeah, that's, yeah. I think for a lot of us. Um, Now, how does the film play on 80s sphere of like maybe let's just say like technology, media, corporate control? Do you feel like that is kind of like the underlying message that we get throughout this film in a lot of ways?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it's also like, witch is in the title. It is a witchcraft movie.
Hmm.
And like old religion, and it even brings like Easter Island in there. Which is so weird. But yeah, like there's probably some corporation commentary going on in there. But it's funny watching this today, this Silver Shamrock Corporation. I mean, it seems kind of quaint. It almost seems like a small business, just this little factory in this
Yeah.
town, whereas major corporations are a billion times bigger and more powerful today.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's funny. I don't really think about like the message of Halloween 3 very much.
I swear,
I
I
see some stuff in there.
sometimes I go a little bit too deep on these movies, but I just like that it opens up maybe a little bit of like discussion that way.
Yeah.
Um,
By the way, I just realized I said Easter Island. I meant Stonehenge. I
yes.
don't believe
Yeah,
those are the same thing.
yeah, no, no,
Stonehenge
they're
is a
not.
lot. No.
Yeah, close enough.
Yeah,
Um,
sure.
Now, okay, so is Halloween 3, in your opinion, more terrifying because it could actually happen? Not necessarily there's no ghosts, no monsters, but just in the, I would say like human evil or like mass manipulation.
More terrifying than like other Halloween movies in the
Yeah,
franchise?
yeah, just like maybe compared to I mean, maybe like supernatural, paranormal, that type of those type of films that we see.
No, I mean, I would say the scariest movie in the Halloween franchise is Halloween.
Hmm.
Overall, like, it's not like this isn't like a scary franchise to me. It's like a fun it's my favorite franchise. Halloween is my favorite
I was
franchise.
going to ask you that.
My favorite horror franchise, that is. But it's not like a scary franchise for me. And like I said, like I've never watched Halloween 3 and been scared. Like this movie is a fun, good time. And like when I say like laugh, like I don't laugh at this movie like I think it's bad. I laugh
Yeah,
because it's so fun and I'm just
yeah.
having a great time.
Oh, it's the
Um,
best.
but yeah, I think the scariest movies in the Halloween franchise are the first one, and controversially speaking, Rob Zombie's movies, like
Oh
probably especially
God,
Halloween 2.
those that's like a different level of scary. I feel like that's just like brutal.
Yeah, they're
You
like
know?
horrifying.
Are you a fan of those? Do you
I
like that?
am.
Okay.
I am a
Okay.
fan. I
Okay. Very
like
cool.
that, it's classic, it's fun, like the Halloween franchise
Mhm.
is all great, but he kind of took them and just made something really horrifying and upsetting with them, and I respect that.
Yeah.
Because I don't think like the David Gordon Green ones did that. Like those movies are also fun more than anything else.
Yeah.
And I like especially Halloween 2. I think Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 is really underrated. Like I think it's a
Super.
pretty powerful experience.
I would speaking of which, I would take the second one over the first one because I feel
Me
like
too.
that's you know how it is like with Rob Zombie, like when he's able to do what he wants to do, especially I just watched Lords of Salem
Oh, I
within the
love Lords of Salem.
yeah, man. And in a lot of ways it kind of reminded me of being able to just kind of let himself like become unhinged and really be able to hone in on his vision. I think the white
Yeah,
horse aspect, all that stuff just works really well.
me
Um,
too. Yeah.
the first one is I I appreciate it, but it's very, how it is. It's very safe to and close to the original take on it, minus maybe like him being in the prison and all that stuff.
Mhm.
Um, now why do you think the ending hits so hard to Halloween 3 even without showing what happens next? Obviously, it's basically like no one believes what's happening until it's too late at that point.
Yeah. I'm gonna sound like a broken record, but I think it hits so hard because Tom Atkins and because his performance is so good in
That's
that moment with the way
I
he's screaming into it. It's just perfect.
I can respect that. It's and it I think the part that I love about it most is it leaves it up to our imagination. Just in that, once
Mhm.
that commercial is aired all over the place, I mean, I can only imagine what the cleanup's gonna be after all those kids are wearing the masks and all that stuff, post, the commercial. So, um, well, let's move right along. And Daniel, what movie do you have up next that we can
Well, I grabbed a movie from the Halloween franchise, so let's just go into that because
Oh,
we're
okay.
already talking about it.
Even better.
But I brought Halloween 6, and funny thing is, this is a good one to talk about after Halloween 3 because I kind of feel like if any movie in the Halloween franchise is a spiritual sequel to Halloween 3, I
Mhm.
think it's Halloween 6 because of the Michael Myers movies, like it's the most witchy and
Oh,
it's the
for
full
sure.
on like cult movie. And it's a crazy movie, and a lot of people say it's bad because like its ideas are nuts and they're not the best ideas for the Halloween franchise, but I just think it's really entertaining and it's really interesting. And I just kind of say, like, if you're going to keep a franchise going this long, you might as well do some weird stuff. And Halloween 6 does some weird stuff. So
So
I think it's fun.
are you okay? So with the Thorn trilogy, where are
Yeah.
you at on that? I mean, obviously taking 4 or 5 and Curse of Michael Myers, do you
Mhm.
like that direction where they went with those 3 movies, or is it just the big swings that Curse of Michael Myers takes?
No, I love the Cult of Thorn stuff. So I'm a
Okay.
big Cult of Thorn guy. I would say like my preferred timeline is probably 1, 2 through Cult of Thorn.
Okay.
Even though like when I watch the original Halloween, I do not watch it with this movie in mind. And I do not think
For
like,
sure.
oh, this is all happening because Man in Black and Cult of Thorn. No, I
No.
don't think that at all. I just kind of think
I'm
like
with
if you're
you.
going to keep a franchise going this long, do something different.
Yeah.
And I will also say I'm a producer's cut guy all the way.
Okay.
So I'm pro producer's cut. But it also like it's just a really Halloweeny movie. And not every movie in the franchise is. And this one feels very autumnal. It's got a Halloween festival in there. It feels very seasonal. So I just like love the look and vibe of this movie a lot.
Oh, yeah. Um, that is definitely one that feels very like I agree with you. It feels very much in a similar tone to Halloween 3, just very, I like the cult vibe. If you have to have an explanation as to why Michael Myers is the way that he is, I think that that is probably like the best explanation you could really get. Um, so with Curse of Michael Myers, 6 years after his last rampage, Michael Myers returns to Haddonfield with renewed brutal purpose. As the town tries to move on from its dark history, a new generation of the Strode family finds themselves trapped in his shadow and hunted by an evil that refuses to die. But behind Michael's endless rage lurks something deeper and darker, a force that has been bound to his bloody destiny for decades. Um, so with that being said, do you feel like that this film feels like Halloween to you, or do you think the Cult of Thorn storyline kind of changes the tone that this one has compared to the others?
I um it's almost like yes and no. It does feel very Halloweeny to me. And
For
it
sure.
is like one of the Halloween movies in the franchise that like I love to go back to the most. But it's really strange for the franchise. Like the ending of the producer's cut, at least, is bananas. Like it ends with like Michael Myers is the new Man in Black, and he's like ditched the mask and he's going to go do his Cult of Thorns stuff, which does not feel like Michael Myers at all. But it's almost like I just kind of think that like I think the best explanation for Michael Myers is the original film, that he's just pure evil and
Yep.
that's it. And there's no explanation. That's the
Agree.
best.
Agreed.
But if you're going to keep it going this long, that's not a lot to go off of for like movie after movie after movie after movie. You kind of got to do something. And this movie does something for
Yeah.
sure.
It takes some very big swings when it comes to the storyline, advancing the characters, especially with Michael Myers. Now you were talking about the producer's cut versus the theatrical cut. We know that each cut of the film is drastically different. Do you feel like the producer's cut captures that true horror or the essence of Michael Myers a little bit more then?
So I'm not an expert on the differences. I just know that like I saw the original cut first, I didn't like it,
Mhm.
and then later I saw the producer's cut and I really liked it. So I've only ever watched the producer's cut since. So the only differences I remember is one, color palette.
Yep.
That the original cut is very blue. It's very like 90s dimension looking, and the producer's cut is much warmer looking, and it just feels more autumn, more Halloween to me. So that's big for me. And then like I like the ending way more,
Yeah.
because the ending of the producer's cut has that crazy like Michael Myers is the new Man in Black. And I don't remember if that's in the original cut, but I remember the final moment of the original cut is Dr. Loomis getting brutally murdered.
Yes.
And I don't like that. And the producer cut doesn't have that.
I it's bittersweet. Every time I come back to this movie, it's bittersweet because you obviously know Donald Pleasance, this is his last performance as Dr.
Yeah.
Loomis, and it's very different compared to the even the other 2 that came before it, 4 and 5, where it's almost like you can definitely tell he's getting up there in age. very
Yeah.
quiet. You have to kind of I feel like sometimes I have to turn the volume up a little bit because I'm like, man, I can't hear what this guy's saying. But it's charming, right? And I think that I agree with you on that, is that it's not my favorite way for it to end on that note, especially given that that's the last performance that we get from him.
Mhm.
Um, but how did you think that Dr. Loomis's final appearance shaped the tone of the movie? I mean, did you think it was like tragic, or did you feel like his performance was a little bit more redemptive for his character?
I like that his performance was more toned down because he in the franchise, he was getting progressively more insane. And by the 5th movie, which even though I
I
love the Cult
agree.
of Thorn thing as a
Yeah.
whole, the 5th movie is not good. Like I don't stand behind the 5th movie, even though I have a little bit of a cozy feeling for it.
Yeah.
But Donald Pleasance was off the rails in 5. He's so over the top. And I like that he chills out in this one.
Yeah.
But I do think it's the one thing I think is really weird in this movie is when the guy who runs the mental hospital is like, "Oh, I'm retiring, and Loomis, I want you to take over for me." And I'm like, Loomis looks way older than you.
Yeah.
Like he cannot take over some big job like this.
It's
Like
not
this man
adding
needs to
up.
be retired.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh my god. That's funny because you're right. He just becomes more and more hysterical as the movies go on. I'm
yeah.
like, this guy is like the crazy uncle, just drunk and babbling and just I don't know. But it is funny. You are right on that. Now we obviously get an iconic performance from Paul Rudd as Tommy Doyle. So
Oh man, the best in the
yeah,
franchise, no doubt. Jamie Lee Curtis, take a
yeah,
step back.
yeah. Step aside. Now, how do you feel like Tommy Doyle's return works for you? Do you like that? Um, it's an effective continuation of the character and the storyline, or do you feel like that there's missed potential, maybe with the casting or his, I, I guess, Paul Rudd's interpretation of the character?
I don't particularly care that he's Tommy Doyle because, Tommy Doyle's just some kid in the original movie. I don't particularly care if he never comes back in the franchise either way. Of course, he's now come back twice and a couple different actors.
Hmm.
But I am pro Paul Rudd in this movie. Like the performance is very weird, but I just like weird, creepy Paul Rudd in this. And I'm overall a Paul Rudd fan. Like who isn't? Who
Same.
doesn't like Paul Rudd? But it's just a weird little twitchy, quirky performance from him, and I like it. I think it's enjoyable.
It's uh it's funny just to see, obviously he's very well known now and beloved as an actor, and
Sexiest man alive, so
it,
says
he doesn't
some
he does
magazine.
he doesn't age. I don't know.
No, he doesn't.
Maybe he's part of the cult, or the Thorn cult. Um but now how would you interpret the cult of Thorn? Like, do you consider it like a supernatural curse, an ancient evil, or do you think it's more of like a metaphor for something far worse, like inherited violence or something along those lines?
No, I'm honestly on the whole, I'm not a big metaphorical movie watcher. And like
Mhm.
usually if a movie has a monster and people ask the question, is it really a monster? Is it just like a metaphor for this?
Yeah.
I pretty much always fall on the side of like it's a monster. It may have social commentary to it, and that's fine.
Yeah,
But like literally speaking, I usually accept everything as a monster if there's a monster in a
for
movie.
sure.
So for me, like I think it's black magic basically. Like it's just like a Wicker Man kind of cult.
Yeah.
And I'm a huge fan of folk horror movies, so this kind of brings some folk horror into Halloween, which I think is really cool.
So I just watched the theatrical cut not that long ago, and because we were myself and a few friends were getting ready to do like a series we're trying to cover. Keyword trying to cover the entire Halloween franchise before Halloween, and I'm in charge of the Thorn trilogy. So I went
Okay.
back, I watched 4, 5, and then watched the theatrical cut for this film. Now I want to go back and watch the producer's cut to really dive in and pick up on all the differences that had. Now, speaking of another film that I feel like in a different way is pretty impactful, and that is a film none other than The House of the Devil.
Oh yeah, yeah, good transition.
Yeah, so I figured it's not too far off from the Cult of Thorn. um, all right. So was this your first exposure to Ty West then?
Uh, I can't remember if it was this or The Innkeepers.
Okay.
It might have been The Innkeepers, but either way.
Um, this was my first film when I was discovering, like, I think it would have been between yeah, yeah, The Innkeepers came out maybe 2 years, I wanna say, afterwards, but,
Yeah.
um, this movie, I just remember I got this on a blind buy, had I had heard hype about it before it got released, and, I absolutely fell in love with it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a throwback to a lot of the movies I absolutely love and adore, and that's something that I feel like for a lot of Ty West films, even all the way up until now, like, he's just so great at paying homage to the films that maybe influenced him. Um,
Yeah, it's true.
Now do you consider this out of Ty West's films? I'm sure you've probably explored some of his other ones. Do you consider
Yeah.
this one of his better ones?
Definitely one of the best. For my favorite, it'd probably be between this and X.
Okay,
But
good choice.
I'm a big Ty West fan. I like everything he's done except perhaps hot take, Maxine. I'm not that big on Maxine,
Okay,
but everything else I think has been great. So I'm a
interesting.
big fan of him. And yeah, this one is the funny thing about this movie, the main criticism usually gets laid against it is it's too slow. Not a lot happens. It
Mhm.
takes forever to get to where it's going. And like that's like true, but I've probably seen it like 4 or 5 times. Like I've watched it many times. It's just like really rewatchable. It's a really good vibe. I love Jocelyn Donahue in this, and because of this movie, I've always been a big fan of her. So I was like so excited when Mike Flanagan put her in Doctor Sleep. Um, and then I'm just a big fan of like satanic horror movies, and this is a really good version of it.
You just put up a video about that, correct?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
I have a couple of satanic themed videos.
Very
Yeah.
nice. I'm excited to check that out. Actually, good timing then.
Yeah.
Um, well, in the 1980s, timid college student Samantha takes a babysitting job at a remote Erie mansion, unaware that the family she's working for has sinister plans. As night falls, strange noises, hidden dangers, and supernatural forces turn the quiet house into a trap, forcing Samantha to fight for her survival against dark occult powers. Um, Now, we were talking about that this film pays homage to older horror films that have come before it. How do you think that this compares to maybe some of the 80s horror films that I feel like it's trying to draw influence from? Do you feel like it's a fresh take, or do you feel like it's just kind of more or less just an homage?
You know, I do think it's funny. I think in style, it is taking off the 1980s. I think it takes place in the 80s, and it's got the great song. I can't remember what the song is called, but I really like the song. I think it's called the breakup song, the one that she dances around to.
Oh, yep, yep.
But in like story, it's much more an influenced on 70s horror movies because the 70s was huge for satanic cult horror movies. There's so many of
That's
them,
right.
and like satanic conspiracy movies and such.
Satanic Panic.
Yeah, and obviously, like in a real life sense, Satanic Panic got big in the 1980s. But I think it's an excellent version of it. Like I would put it up against most anything that came out in the 70s. Because like the characters are so likable, especially Jocelyn Donahue. But Greta Gerwig, shout out, like everybody's favorite
Oh,
director
yeah.
now. She's the friend in this
kind
movie.
of kind of a weird appearance, now that she's gone on to
Yeah,
bigger and better things.
yeah. So it's fun to see her in this, and every time I go live, I usually forget names, but I love the guy in here because he's in so many indie horror movies. So like every time he pops up, it's fun. Can't remember his name, but he's in here. So the characters are great, but like the Satan. Oh, and Tom Noonan. Everybody
Yeah,
loves
that's
him.
Manhunter.
Oh yeah, I mean Tom
Oof,
Noonan's a legend in so
fucking
much
scary,
great stuff.
man.
Yeah, but he also seems like the sweetest guy.
Oh,
Like he's kind of scary, but he just seems like such a sweet
I'm
dude.
sure he is, but man, like, talk about like your pick of roles.
Yeah,
I don't know. I feel like the line between how he is in real life and his performances kind of blurs a little bit.
yeah.
So we know that the film teases something ancient and occult lurking behind the walls of this home. How effective is the sense of this unseen evil? I mean, you were talking about it being a slow burn. Do you feel like that is the best approach for this film? And
I think it worked really well because I love a horror movie that can kind of set up have an initial setup that's just like uncomfortable in a real life sense. It would be to most people. Like I think about Barbarian, where it's like you show up at Airbnb, there's somebody already there. Immediately you're uncomfortable. This movie has that too, with her showing up for a babysitting job, and it's actually an old person. And that's feels like a way bigger undertaking and a more uncomfortable thing than just taking care of a kid. Plus, you've kind of been lied to. So immediately you're just like, oh, this is weird. Like something's going to go down here. And so that kind of immediately hits this tension that kind of brings it through. But it also just works as a slow burn, I think, because Jocelyn Donahue is just really likable. So it's just kind of fun to follow
for
her through
sure.
this house, even if not that much is happening.
It kind of reminded me, not obviously with like the more occult themes, but reminded me of a film. Have you ever seen Burnt Offerings?
Yes.
Yeah, kind of
Good
like not
movie.
obviously not you take out like the occult themes, but kind of like I just watched that recently. I was like, man, it kind of reminds me a little bit. There's a little bit of similarity there. Um, Now, what makes the house itself so unnerving? You feel like it's just the layout, the shadows, the way the camera lingers on certain empty spaces in certain scenes?
I don't know. I don't know if I find the house particularly unnerving. It's a nice house. I think it has good use of stairs, so there are a lot of good scenes of her kind of running up and down stairs and
Yeah.
such. But it's really like when the ritual is uncovered.
Oh,
I one
so
reason I'm a
creepy.
one reason I'm a big fan of satanic horror movies is like I like the iconography of like satanic cults and such.
Mhm.
So, and this movie, like it has all that classic stuff with the pentagram and the hooded figures, and the one hooded figure with the really scary face
Yeah.
who's like what is that? Is that a demon or is that just a person who's been possessed by something? Like what is that? And we
Yeah.
don't we don't know, and that's
I don't
just
wanna know,
cool.
I'll be honest. Um, Now, the slow build of suspense that we get in The House of the Devil is a big part of the film. I mean, were there certain moments for you that you were holding your breath at all, or just like, kind of racing, or like your heart was racing during certain scenes?
Not that I remember. I mean, I saw it for the first time so long ago now that I don't really remember like initially how I felt. Because by now I've seen it so many times, I definitely don't feel like that anymore. Like
Yeah.
it's really some people think this is weird, but it's really become like a comfort movie at this point.
Oh, for sure. I get what you're saying because it's very rich in atmosphere
Yeah.
compared to not only a lot of films that were coming out around that time, but it feels very much in the same vein of like old favorites that you have, maybe like something like The Changeling or Burnt Offerings, films like
Mhm,
that where it's
sure.
like it's a whole vibe. Susan mentioned, she said, didn't Tom Noonan play Frankenstein's monster in the Monster Squad?
Yeah.
Good call,
He did. He's great in that. Great
man.
monster.
Um, and then do you think the horror is more about the threat of like possession, or I mean, do you think
Nah,
it's
it's impregnation, dude.
yeah,
Rosemary's Baby kind of thing.
yeah. Um, it's also it feels like it deals with themes of like the fear of being like trapped and powerless in a lot of ways. I mean, once she's in
Oh
there,
yeah.
it's like there's no turning back. And does the ending that we get in this film make the events of the entire film feel inevitable? Did you notice anything as we were moving through the movie that led up to this?
It's been a while since I've watched it, so I couldn't tell you for sure. Um, Remind me exactly how it ends, unless you don't want to give spoilers. I don't know.
Oh, no,
Like
no.
I remember, like she's in the hospital and she's just giving birth, right?
Yeah, I know because I remember when the ritual takes place. We obviously know she's like SOL at that point, and then ends up in the hospital, and then that's really the like the how it kind of ends, if I recall
Hmm.
correctly.
Yeah.
Doesn't really end on a high note.
Nor
That's for
should it.
sure. Um, okay. Well, I feel like that this is the perfect time to move on to our next choice. And Daniel, what's the next movie on this horror movie marathon we got going?
Yeah, I think the right next choice to go off of House of the Devil is Cobweb. Have you
Ooh,
seen Cobweb?
I have not actually.
Okay,
So
yeah, I was curious.
I'm excited for you to tell me more about this one.
Speaking of Greta Gerwig, this movie came out the same weekend as Barbenheimer,
Oh,
so it was destroyed, and like
y
nobody saw it.
yeah,
Like, but it's apt that I love this movie because of the name, and then the name of my channel, Cobwebs Channel, of course.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I don't just love it because of that. Um, it's a Halloween movie. It's like actual holiday movie. Um, and it almost feels like a dark children's fairy tale where it's about this kid. He's
Mm,
got these parents. His parents are actually played by Lizzie Kaplan and Anthony Starr, which is
okay,
interesting. They're both really good in it. And they're just creepy. Like he's just got these creepy, weird parents. His house is creepy, and he hears talking in his walls. So there is something in his wall that's talking to him, and he communicates with it. And basically, throughout the course of the movie, it's him figuring out what's going on with his parents. What is this thing in the wall? Is it going to come out? And of course it does come out eventually. And it's just like this very creepy monster movie. It has beautiful Halloween autumn vibes to it.
okay.
It's such a great movie for the season. And it's a perfect movie for me. Like it's totally up my alley. I thought it was so cool.
Um, it's a very interesting choice for when it was released. Obviously, it's going up against some heavy hitters of the time. How did you end up discovering this movie? Was it just it kind of showed up on your radar as far as horror movies go, or were you
Yeah,
recommended it?
I just remember hearing about it was coming out, and I saw the poster, and I thought the poster looked really cool, and obviously the title was like, "Oh, that's like my YouTube channel."
Yeah.
So I was immediately curious. But it didn't, like, in addition to coming out against those other movies, it also didn't get a wide release. So it
Okay.
didn't play near me. So like I wanted to see it that weekend,
Yeah.
but it didn't play. So I actually pre-ordered the Blu-ray.
Oh,
So
okay.
then as soon as it came out to Blu-ray, I showed up at my house and I watched it, and I was like so in love with it. Huge, huge fan. It was like an instant favorite.
That's like the best feeling though, is when you find a gem that's like really unexpected, it shows up on your radar, and especially for not only like a horror movie favorite, but nonetheless like a Halloween essential. Um,
Yeah,
that's
actually,
the
now that
best.
think about it, I think that's a big reason I want to see it so bad. Is I remembered like when like the trailer came out, everything they released a bunch of still images, and the still images they released like were full of pumpkins and
Okay.
suburban autumn leaves and everything. I was like, this is exactly my kind of vibe, so I've got to see this.
Oh, for sure.
It's got a lot of pumpkins.
Now, what about like the soundtrack, the direction, the cinematography? What is it about this movie? Like if you were trying to get somebody or trying to sell someone on this that maybe hadn't seen it, is there other things that really stand out to you about this film?
Yeah, I remember one thing I thought when I was first watching it is it felt like the director's goal was to make every single little thing about the movie creepy. So like so it's not like a big scary movie in terms of jump scares or gore. It does have some violence, but it's not like a terrifying movie. It's just like everything is uneasy. Everything is creepy. His parents are creepy. His house is. The
Yeah.
other kids in the neighborhood are creepy. Like everything is unsettling for this kid. And and in terms of like the music and the way he shoots it, like it felt like that was the goal of everything. And I thought it like really worked. It was this weird, unsettling movie. And I
Ah,
don't think this was his first movie. I don't think he's made anything since. But I will be very much looking forward to it if he ever does again, because I
ah,
thought he just killed it with this.
that's the best though, because then it's like you get excited for their next project. And I was going to ask you, I mean, with this film, did you feel like it was influenced by maybe some other horror movie favorites, or did you feel like it drew from various, you know, horror films that you've seen before?
That it's funny you say this because that's another thing I thought about when I first saw this. Because I made a whole video review on it, and
Yeah.
I said it really doesn't feel like anything to me.
Mm,
Like, and usually, like everything these days feels like an homage on something, and I couldn't really compare it to anything. It feels like really unique.
okay.
I will say, like when the monster is revealed, it it reminded me a little bit of Malignant. And not in story, so you don't have to like think
Oh.
like, is there something in the back of his head? No, it's not that. But like
Are you a Malignant
how
fan though?
I'm a huge Malignant
Okay,
fan.
okay, same
Yeah.
here. Okay,
But it's just
cool.
like how balls to the wall it is and like how crazy it is, and it makes no apologies.
Yep.
And it's just like the weirdest thing it could have been. It felt like a Malignant vibe to me, but that's
Oh
the
man.
closest comparison I got.
Okay, wow. Well, I'm a big fan of Malignant, so this is
Oh,
like
nice.
checking the boxes for me, and I knew there was a reason why I brought you on then, a mutual love of Malignant. Um,
Yeah, my
it
favorite James Wan movie,
oh my
perhaps
god, dude.
controversially.
Okay, I don't wanna get off topic because I love this movie so much, but, when you first saw Malignant, was it what you were expecting at all? Like, in the slightest?
No,
Okay, okay.
no.
I I'm a big giallo film fan, like,
Yeah, me
if
too.
it oh, it's so bad.
We've
So
talked we were on a Italian horror
oh,
live
that's
stream
oh,
together.
that's right, but listen, trust me, I love Italian horror, but I would love to go into the weeds when it comes to, like, more straight up giallo films because I that's probably my favorite subgenre,
Mhm.
but you're right. So, when I saw that it was taking influence from, like I mean, I was picking up on, like, Trauma, from Dario Argento in certain
Mhm.
aspects. I mean, countless other Argento films and giallo
It felt
films.
very Fulci to me too, like,
Yep,
especially, like, the crash zooms with the loud banging music. I'm like,
yep.
"This feels like Fulci right now."
I'm waiting for the day that we get a nice boutique box set. Somebody, please, I'm trying to manifest it that we get this box set from
I
Malignant.
think that would sell. Yeah,
Yeah,
they should somebody should do that.
absolutely. And maybe okay, I don't want it to be too on the nose, but for Cobweb, if you could have a perfect double feature for that film with one other movie, what would it be?
Ooh, that's a good question. You know what? I think we talked about this on that live stream, but I'm gonna say Spider Labyrinth.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. I like this.
and I'll leave it at that. You'll have to see the
Okay.
movie to see more why.
Okay. I've seen it and that one's I can appreciate that.
It's
Uh
better than Spider Labyrinth, though, in my opinion.
Spider Labyrinth has some strange place in my heart. um well, moving right along, and that's a great recommendation. So I'm very excited to check out Cobweb. Um but something that is pretty far out there, and especially for the time. But this movie, I feel like I talk about this too much, but it's none other than Ghostwatch.
Mm,
I fucking love this movie.
me
I
too. I'm a
oh my,
huge fanboy for it.
um, was this more of a recent discovery for you, or had you
It
heard about it?
was.
Okay,
It
and
was, within the last couple of years. I think it was
okay,
the year before last.
what did you think? I mean, had you heard about it beforehand, maybe within like the movie community, or was it recommended to you?
I'd heard about it, but, like, I honestly don't think I took it seriously as, like, an actual movie because like, the way it premiered, like, it was so it's a TV movie, it never went to theaters or anything, and just the way, like, it's supposed to be like a TV special, but it's not a TV special, it's fake and ghost, like, I really didn't know what to make of how
Hmm.
I'd heard about it, but I can't remember what really got me curious enough to like, "Okay, I wanna see this,"
Yeah.
but I remember I just watched it on streaming, and I could not believe how scary it was. Like, I think this is one of the scariest movies I've ever seen,
Thank
and
you.
I remember as soon as I watched it in my living room by myself, and my wife is in our room reading.
Yeah.
And so I finished watching it, and I bolt to our bedroom and like jump onto the bed, and I'm like going to my wife, like, I just watched the scariest movie.
Yeah.
I was so
It's
freaked out.
so where does this rank before we get started and we'll go a little bit further in depth on this, but where does this rank for you as far as found footage? Because this became like an not only an instant favorite, but this is now like a staple for me around Halloween.
I would say I've never done like a ranking list on found footage, but I think it's my favorite. I don't
Yep.
think I think the only thing that compares with it is Lake Mungo, but I would put this one ahead of that.
So good.
Yeah.
Um I always put in the conversation, I would say probably as far as found footage, I always consider Cannibal Holocaust another prime
It
example
is.
of like the
Yeah.
early example of found footage. But I would put that in the conversation, Ghost Watch, and of course, the Blair Witch Project because of its impact and the time that it came out. But for Ghost Watch, it's presented as a live Halloween night TV special. A team of reporters and paranormal investigators enter a suburban home said to be haunted by a violent spirit. As cameras roll and millions watch from their living rooms, strange events begin to unfold, blurring the line between broadcast and nightmare. What starts as a harmless television or as harmless television soon spirals into something far more sinister. Um, so what was about this movie that really stood out to you? It obviously had a pretty resounding impact. It sounds like, at least on your first watch. Was it,
Mhm.
the haunting of pipes, or
I think
with the
it's
TV broadcast?
I think it's just how real it feels. Like it felt completely real to me. And like, I don't have any illusions about it. I know it's not real,
Yeah.
but it felt completely real to me. And it certainly did to people when they originally saw it because they're even
Oh,
using like real news people. Like this isn't even all actors. Like they actually use some real BBC broadcast people in this. Which further made people watching it on TV actually think it was real and had no idea it was a movie. So and it's just I remember the scariest moment in the movie for me, and it's one that stands out to me the most, is at one point they're going to open a door and they have very strong reason to believe that this ghost entity is behind the door pipes. And they'd like open it very slowly and then like something happens and it gets closed back, but like for just a second you're pretty sure you saw a figure back there before the door closed. And that freaked me out so much because like pipes felt so real. I love the way they built this legend around him. And when I just felt like I saw him for just a second, oh man, it was so scary.
even when it's closer to the beginning of the movie where they're replaying the footage of the girls in the bedroom, and you don't see it on initial like rewatch of it, but then they go back again and you see the dark figure. I cannot imagine what this was like watching this as a live broadcast. I think that I would have like fell to my knees or collapsed, or
There
something.
are reports of people claiming that people died like of a heart attack watching this. And I don't know if those are true, and I don't know if those
Yeah.
people were gonna die of a heart attack anyway, but there's a lot of
I
controversy
don't know
around
what's
this movie's
worse,
initial.
pipes or cardiovascular disease. But yeah, I mean, yeah, but in all seriousness, I think you do have a point, because maybe that is over exaggerated, or that, they just try to build it up to be more than that. But I mean, can you imagine, you're just posted up for the night, you're watching this, what's supposed to be like a harmless TV special for Halloween, and you get something that is so, I mean, it's so ahead of its time. Um
Mhm.
and so scary. Like, I mean, I'm watching it years removed from when this came out, and I'm just as scared. And I know it's not real, right?
Yeah.
Um, Now, did you find the live television format, did it make it scarier for you, almost like it was like an event?
Yeah, I think so, but not even that alone, because 'cause I've seen other movies that kind of do the same kind of thing,
Mhm.
and it's never worked this well, and there are other ones that I like, I really like Late Night with the Devil.
Yep, same.
Um, I felt like I had one on the tip of my tongue that I thought of too, but anyway, but, like, none of them have felt this real, or been this scary to me for some reason. This one's just the top.
Now, do you think, and I don't wanna go, too far down the rabbit hole when it comes to it, but do you think that Pipes represents anything? Like, I mean, do you feel like he's just a malignant spirit in the home? Um, do you think it could represent some sort of like trauma or something that maybe happened to the family that, we just don't know?
The horror filmmakers today love trauma. Like almost every horror movie is about trauma in some way. Yeah, like I said, like I'm not really that kind of horror movie watcher. So to me, it's just a ghost.
Yeah,
If they meant some kind of deeper thing, I think it probably went over my head.
fair. And how do you think the film uses like silence, glitches, background movement. Do you feel like that enhances, like, the tension we get in this movie for you? Like, on if you're
Yeah, I
rewatching it?
think also just like sometimes the cut to, lower quality video, like the cameras that they've got in the kids' bedrooms that are always just running and the things that you see in there, including some faked things in there too, which is an interesting thing that they threw in there. Um, I in general, when it comes to found footage, my favorite found footage movies are usually in like some kind of mockumentary format. Like I just find that a lot more entertaining than the paranormal activity version
Oh,
that's just
okay.
like a guy with a camcorder. So I kind of like it when it's edited together. So like this Ghost Watch, I was a big fan of one that just came out this year, Strange Harvest. Did you see that one?
I haven't, and
Really
you're
good.
not the first person that's mentioned that one. Pretty good?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
it's made like it feels very real as a true crime documentary, but it's way more supernatural because it's not real. So, it's so they're able to go to some supernatural places that would not be in a true crime documentary, but it's really, really cool.
I'll have to check that out. I love getting new recommendations, so you've name dropped a few that I'm definitely gonna add to my watch list. Now, was there, like, a moment that got under your skin the most? Was it when they were close to uncovering what we think might be pipes? Or were there
Yeah,
other sequences?
definitely the door moment. It's been a couple of years since I watched it. So that's the one that's burned into my brain. I'm sure there are other moments. I don't think I can remember them right now, but yeah, I think there was a lot of it for me.
Thanks, Vita. I'm just trying to be as cool as Daniel.
Hell yeah.
And we got my buddy Josh. What is
Yeah, he
up,
was on
dude?
that, Italian horror live stream with us too.
Yeah, yeah, we've actually we did a whole episode, like an oversized cannibal horror cinema special not too long ago. That was a
See,
lot of fun.
that's one live stream I would be useless
Oh,
on. It's not
I'll
not my
tap you.
genre.
We'll tap you in for the assist here and there.
You're
um,
like, "I don't know, I haven't
Come
watched it."
on, man. um, so obviously we know this TV special caused real panic when it aired. I mean, do you think that people at the time really thought that this was real, like genuinely?
Oh, yeah, a lot of people did. Like, I don't know if people actually died watching it, but what I do know for certain is that there was a lot of panic, and there was the TV station that put it out was just, they had such an onslaught of complaint phone calls. And not even just complaints, but like people freaking out, like demanding answers. Because
Yeah,
it's 1992. You
for sure.
can't just pull out your phone and Google, like, what is this? So you're just watching it. And if you didn't catch the beginning where it's like introduced that it's a movie,
Oh, it's
and
even
you're
worse.
seeing actual BBC news personalities
Yeah.
on it, people freaked out. And there were hundreds of thousands, I think, of maybe not hundreds of thousands, but there were thousands of phone calls that the station got.
Oh, crazy. Yeah, this is one that has cemented its place easily as one of my favorite horror movies. Like it's
Me
definitely
too.
up there. And I think whenever someone mentions, and don't get me wrong, I love the Blair Witch Project, but whenever someone mentions found footage, I mean, this to me is like S tier compared to everything else, maybe minus
Mhm.
Cannibal Holocaust. Um, well, we've got a couple more Halloween essentials that I know you and I were going to cover. And what one do you have next for us in this movie marathon?
Next, I'm gonna go. Kind of a basic pick, but Sleepy Hollow, Tim Burton's Sleepy
Ah,
Hollow.
classic.
I feel like I talk about this movie too much, so if
No,
anyone here is from my audience, they're like, "Oh, here he goes again." But I
it's
love this
all good,
movie so
man.
much. This is also like one of the most fun movies I've just ever watched,
For
and I
sure.
did have a little bit of I really grew how much I loved it over time. Because when
Hmm.
I first watched it, I wasn't as in love with it. Because I do think I used to be a little bit more of a snobby horror fan. Like, you and I talked a while back, like you invited me on your live stream to talk about The Conjuring. And I was like, I'm not really into The Conjuring.
Yeah.
So I turned it down. I actually a while after that I rewatched The Conjuring and I really liked it. And I was like, I think I just used to be a snob about like mainstream horror and I don't care about that
That's
anymore.
why I was like, I have to make sure that, like, if we do something together, I wanted to make sure it was like I want it to be something you're passionate about. But I'm glad at
Yeah.
least you went back and revisited it. How was it on a rewatch for you. Did you like it?
I thought it was really good. And the funny thing is, like, when I first saw the movie, I thought it was really good.
Mhm.
But then I think I got there was just too much Conjuring for so many years. Like there was just so many movies and spinoffs and sequels, and I honestly just got really sick of the whole thing. And so my dad's a big horror fan. Well,
Okay.
he got incredibly obsessed with The Conjuring, and he watched
Oh,
it
no
too
way.
much. And he was like not taking any of my recommendations because he keeps rewatching The Conjuring. And I'm like,
Yeah.
Dad, there are other movies than these Conjuring movies. So I just got sick of the whole Conjuring thing. But I've had a lot of distance now. I haven't watched a Conjuring movie in years, and I rewatched it. I'm like, this is actually a really good movie.
Yeah.
Like these actors are great. The vibe is great. It looks fantastic.
Well,
There's some good scares. So that's
especially
really good
especially the first one. Maybe
for me too. Yeah.
yeah, you don't even have to, and I always say this, like, I can appreciate the second one, and I feel like in some ways it has a little bit of similarities to, Ghostwatch premise-wise, but I would say that the first one, if you're just trying to pick one out of the films, I mean, that one, if it was just on its own, I think it's probably one of the better horror movies that we've gotten in, like, the last, like, 15 years. Um,
Probably agree with that. I because I also not long after that I rewatched Conjuring 2. Also really liked it. Not as much as the first one. I agree with you that the first one's clearly the best.
it's what is it about the second one that just, and I'm curious just to get your feedback on it, but for the second one, what was it about that one that just didn't have that I don't know, didn't pull you in the same way?
You know, it's funny thing about these Conjuring movies is I feel like as they go, they start to feel more and more like superhero movies. And like the way they're directed, they
Yeah,
almost feel indistinguishable from like a Marvel movies, which is funny because James Wan then went on to make some superhero movies and Fast and Furious and
that's
stuff.
hilarious.
And The Conjuring 2 feels a little more like action blockbuster at points, whereas the first one's more down to earth and creepy. Um, and also like I like the family better in the first movie, just like a pure likability thing. I like it. I think it's better paced. I think there are
Yeah, I agree.
some points in the middle of Conjuring 2 where it's like, oh, okay, like, let's get going here.
Is that where he's
Uh,
playing the guitar?
I love the guitar moment. That's like
Okay.
my favorite scene in the
Okay.
movie.
I was trying to remember if that's the right one because I remember
Yeah,
watching, dude, the third one was fucking terrible. Sorry,
I
but
thought so too. Although
oof,
I just saw it when it first came out. I thought it was terrible.
not
Yeah.
good. Well, and maybe that's where you have to give credit where credit's due for James Wan's influence and his direction, because I think
Yeah.
that it just felt like it was a pretty big step down from the first two. Now, for Sleepy Hollow, in
Oh yeah.
1799, right? Constable Ichabod Crane is sent to
Mhm.
the remote village of Sleepy Hollow to investigate a series of gruesome decapitations. Armed with reason and science, he soon discovers that something unearthly stalks the mist shrouded woods, a vengeful, headless rider bound by blood and legend. As Ichabod digs deeper, the line between logic and nightmare blurs, revealing dark secrets buried beneath the quiet village. So, Tim Burton, very much of the time, even before then, is, I mean, I don't know about so much now. I mean, I guess that remains to be debated if he still has that same level of talent. But back then, he was like a juggernaut when it came to the films he was putting out. Where do you rank this for your, out of the Tim Burton movies that you've seen? Is this one of your favorites?
Number 1, baby.
Oh,
It's my
wow.
favorite.
Oh, no
Yeah.
shit.
And
Wow.
the funny thing about Tim Burton is, I feel like I only come to love him more as I age. Whereas I think
Mhm.
for a lot of people, they kind of grow out of Tim Burton. And I feel like I'm loving him more and more. And I think he's got a lot of underrated movies. I think he's got a lot of, a lot more good movies than people give him credit for. Some terrible movies. Alice in Wonderland is terrible for sure. But yeah, Sleepy Hollow is my favorite. It's his one R-rated horror movie. I mean, he has other horror movies, but like this is a real horror movie. But it's also like it feels like almost like a blockbuster horror movie. But it's my favorite movie for that kind of feel. And at this point, I really love everything about it. I'm pretty obsessed with the Legend of Sleepy Hollow story in general. So I
Okay.
love the original story. I love the Disney version.
That's what I was gonna ask about.
Hallmark even did a version of it that I think is good. Like they did that back in the 90s. And this is very different than the original story, but I think it's one of those cases of their new ideas were good ideas. And I
Yeah.
think if you're going to make like a big Hollywood Sleepy Hollow movie, you can't do the original story because it's mostly not horror, not until
Mhm.
the end, which I love, but you can't do that in 1999 for a big horror movie. So the way they changed it were smart.
Yeah.
And I love everything about it, the look and the vibe. And I think Johnny Depp's great. I think Christina Ricci's great. And the Headless Horseman is just the coolest. He's just the coolest ghost of all time. Like he just looks
It's
awesome.
it's really, I this is another one that I feel like the atmosphere is what elevates this movie to the highest degree. And obviously Tim Burton's, no stranger to that. He's no stranger to that with any of his films for that matter. But this is one that I feel like it's where he shines probably the most.
Yeah.
Um, and then you got my boy GC. He said, "What's up, guys?" He want Daniel in the house. He says he wants to get you on episode Cinema Rewind. So that was when we were talking about
Cool.
The Conjuring. So maybe we'll
Oh, okay.
try to get you on for a different movie, hopefully in the near future. Um,
Perhaps it is. Perhaps when you finally watch Cobwebs.
yep. GC, you heard it here first. Okay, so Tim Burton's vision is rich with fog, candlelight, decay. What about this version of Sleepy Hollow feels so like haunting, almost like kind of it's a beautiful movie, but
Yeah.
what
It's
works for
really
you with this movie?
um one thing I got to point out about it is it's very much Tim Burton's homage to Hammer films, and I'm a
Okay.
big Hammer guy. Hammer's like one of my favorite things.
Uh
Um he's using some like actors from Hammer. So he's got Christopher Lee in a small role, he's got Michael Goff in a small role. He's got Michael Gambon, who did some Amicus stuff, but that's kind of adjacent to Hammer.
okay.
And he's really going for that look and atmosphere. The one thing that bothered me though about how it approximates Hammer at first, I don't care anymore,
Hmm.
is it's very desaturated in color, right? So it's like almost black and white. And Hammer films do not look like that. Hammer films are very bright and vivid
Hmm.
color, like, almost compare them to Giallo a little bit. So I was like, why did he do that? But I understand why he did it now. It's kind of Tim
Yeah.
Burton's signature style in a lot of ways, and that doesn't bother me anymore. But in most ways, it approximates Hammer very well. And like my dream movie that does not exist is I wish Hammer made a Sleepy Hollow movie in their heyday.
Oh,
And you had like Peter Cushing as Ichabod Crane.
yeah.
Like that would have been perfect, but it never happened. And this is the closest that we'll ever get.
Okay. Okay. I dig it. Well, speaking of which, so throughout the movie, there's this misty atmosphere. You mentioned the muted color palette. So do you feel like that this contributes to the film's like kind of like the dreadful tone that you have, or do you feel like that this elevates it a little bit more because of those elements?
Well, when Tim Burton kind of tells you what he's going for with that color palette at the end,
Hmm.
because when the Headless Horseman curse is lifted, color comes back into the world.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, this is a cursed village. So just everything is dreary and everything
Yeah.
feels gloomy. And it's a very dreary, gloomy looking movie, but in like the most beautiful way possible. But then by the end, suddenly like, oh, color is coming back.
It makes sense in the context of the movie. Um, Now, what's like the creepiest image for you from this movie? Is there one that stands
Mm.
out?
Oh, I think it's the tree. And when Ichabod Crane like hacks into the tree and blood starts coming out, and there's like
Ooh.
it's like this, it's the Headless Horseman's cursed tree that he comes out of, and it's
Yeah.
blood, and there's like heads in there and stuff. I think that's my favorite.
Oh, it's gnarly.
But
Now,
also the moment, oh man, do you remember when the Headless Horseman breaks into that family's house and he kills all of them, like husband, wife, child, and that's when it's like, oh, this movie's going hard. Like this is not old school Tim Burton.
I
Like he's
was
really
like,
going for it.
first time watching that, I'm like, oh, this isn't like the animated movie at all.
Yeah, no.
Now, how do you think that Danny Elfman's score do you feel like that heightens the tension or just kind of creates that like dreary mood that we get with this film?
Oh yeah, it's beautiful. I mean, Tim Burton is inseparable from Danny Elfman, pretty much.
Mhm.
I don't know if I don't. He probably has, but I can't think of any Tim Burton movies that don't use Danny Elfman.
That's a good
So
point.
much of the Tim Burton vibe, a lot of it comes from Tim Burton, because Tim Burton's a very visionary director and he's great. But a lot of it comes from like Danny Elfman's very signature kind of music. And Danny Elfman, I love. He's one of my favorite
For
composers.
sure, for sure.
And I love Oingo Boingo too.
I the first thing I think of is, Texas Chainsaw too.
Yes, exactly. That I love that song so
I
much, and
I
that's like one
had
of my favorite scenes.
listen, if there's one thing getting to know me, I have an unhealthy love for Texas Chainsaw too. I don't know what it is about
Yeah,
that
me
movie,
too.
but it's
We agree on like all of these highly polarizing horror movies. Malignant, Lake Mungo, Texas Chainsaw 2.
that's
That's
it.
pretty
Listen,
cool.
the perfect movie marathon, you've got it right there.
Yeah.
Um, and I had to ask you, so what makes Sleepy Hollow a perfect Halloween movie? Do you think it captures that feeling of autumn better than any other horror film?
I don't know if I can go any other horror film, but it is a perfect Halloween movie while not explicitly being Halloween. Because in the animated one, it actually is explicitly Halloween. It's a Halloween dance at the end. This one does
Yep.
not mention Halloween, but you do see some pumpkins around and jack-o'-lanterns around, obviously. So it's kind of implied. But yeah, it this is one of my favorite movies to watch, to like kick off the spooky season. You know, it's just
Oh
so
yeah.
much. It's the dead crooked trees and all the leaves, and I just love any movie that has a witch in the woods. So if you go into the woods and there's some witch living out there, that's great. That's great
We
vibes. And this
we
movie
just
has that too.
we just did on Cinema Rewind. We covered Robert Eggers' The Witch.
That's right.
Very
You had Evan, right?
yeah, yeah. Oh, it
Evan
was a
Graves.
blast.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Evan's great.
Um, he's very in the know when it comes to Robert Eggers, and we
He
had a
is.
very at length conversation. It's very different than a lot of the conversations we typically have, not in a bad way, but it was so cool to go kind of like very like waist deep into Robert Eggers, the mythology
Mhm.
that he builds, and with all of his films. It was a lot of fun. Um, okay, so speaking of a more fun film, kind of capturing that Halloween spirit, I had to roll with Night of the Demons.
Nice.
Um, did you discover this movie early on back in the video store days, or was this one that was maybe more of a recent discovery, or do you have any type of affinity for this film or the sequels for
Uh
that matter?
in between, like I didn't grow up with most 80s horror movies,
Okay.
because I my dad is a horror fan, but also I grew up in a very religious house, so I was sheltered from a lot of things. So like, I was exposed to the really old stuff.
Hmm.
Once you get like the 80s and forward, I had a lot more guardrails on what I was allowed to watch. But he did show me, like my dad did show me the Evil Dead movies growing up.
Oh, right on.
Surprisingly, he showed me
Wow.
David Cronenberg's The Fly growing up. So I
Oh,
saw
okay.
that at a young age.
Wasn't
But
all bad, I guess.
yeah, yeah, I don't know what the rules really were. Um, but I came to most 80s horror movies like once I became an adult and I just started
Okay.
seeking them all out. So I watched this one around that time. And I liked it. I like this movie. It's fun. But then a few years ago, I did like a long movie marathon with some friends for Halloween.
Yeah.
And we watched this one really late at night, and this movie just plays with a crowd. Like if you got a group of people, this movie
Fun.
like rocks, and it was
Yeah.
the best viewing experience I'd had with it for sure.
It's one out of, so I was trying to put together 31 for 31 days of Halloween, and this obviously had to make the list. I was trying to make the list as sleazy as possible with the horror films I was picking, just because I think that there's like some charm to it, and kind of wanted to challenge myself that way. But this you're right. This is a very fun, just atmospheric, creepy horror film that um I just think it's just so likable, and there's so much rewatchability to it. And with Night of the Demons, this takes place on Halloween night, where a group of teenagers throw a wild party in an abandoned funeral parlor, unaware that the building is a gateway for demonic forces. As the night unfolds, playful mischief turns into terrifying possession, and survival becomes a desperate fight against evil that feeds on their fear. Um, Now, what did you think of like the funeral parlor setting? Do you think it worked for what they, kind of what they were going for with this? Did it enhance the atmosphere that we got with this movie?
Is the house a funeral parlor? I honestly forgot that.
I thought it was.
I mean, I can't remember what the house is called. Funny thing is, like, I haven't seen this one since that viewing a few years ago that I mentioned, but I have more recently watched the sequel, Night of the Demons 2, where they go back to the same house. And in that, I don't remember them calling it a funeral parlor.
It's considered a mortuary.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Yep.
Whole house. Okay, a mortuary.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
Um, yeah, I really like the setting. I mean, particularly, I think where the setting shines the best is Angela's dance
Oh yeah.
scene, like with the fireplace and everything.
Yep.
That scene is amazing. And that's just the kind of scene that, like, I feel like most filmmakers would just not put into your horror movie. This like big, crazy dance sequence, but it's awesome. Like it
Oh yeah.
works so well.
The use of shadows was one thing on rewatch that I just absolutely felt like this movie did right on in a lot of ways. It plays with like the lighting to the fullest to really kind of give you this. Yeah, it's obviously they're aiming for that Halloween aesthetic throughout the film, but also like it just makes it so damn creepy where they're at. Um Now, how do you think with, the Halloween setting, do you think that that adds to the tension with the costumes, the decorations, kind of in a lot of ways, the idea of some sort of evil is like hidden in plain sight? Did you feel like that worked for this movie?
Oh yeah, I mean, it certainly adds to, like, the fun, the atmosphericness of it. I mean, for me, like, if you set your movie around Halloween, that's an automatic, like, add a star to the letterbox rating kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yep.
And this works. I love the costumes. I love the pig guy. He's just hilarious, like terrible, but total typical like 80s bully douchebag character.
Yeah.
You got Linnea Quigley in her little pink dress. Or the way they introduce Linnea Quigley's character in the store is like only in the 80s, you
Oh
know?
yeah.
So
Yep.
crazy.
I had a chance to meet her. What was it, back in
I met her
April?
too, actually.
Oh, she was so sweet. Um,
Yeah, she
I
is.
I had her sign my Night of the Demons VHS,
Cool.
and yeah, definitely like I mean that's one actress that I had to meet for sure.
Yeah.
Um, Now, was there like a scene that like startled you or scared you the most? Maybe some of the possession scenes, the transformations, anything like that?
I don't think I think the appeal of this movie for me is not really scares, because I don't think I've ever felt any scares with this movie. For me,
Mhm.
this movie is like a party where
Hell yeah.
it's just like a rock and roll party. It's just
Yeah.
fun. I love like the crazy dialogue and just like having fun with the ridiculous lines these kids are spouting off at each other. Um and it's that typical thing of like the boys and girls pairing up and like sneaking off to go do
It's
you know what in the
oh
room.
yeah,
Classic 80s fun.
the best.
Um, but the makeup effects are great, and when they're turned into demons, I think a highly underrated movie monster is demons, and demons usually don't get used that way. But I think when they are used as a monster, whether it be this, Lamberto Bava's demons,
Oh, that's what I was gonna
um,
ask you. Did you mean like the actual movie? Was that what you were
yeah,
referring
and
to? Okay.
demons and like Demon Knight, the Tales from the Crypt movie.
Oh,
Whenever you got
another
like
great one.
demon monsters, I think it's really cool, and this movie makes great use of that.
Oh, you don't have to sell me on Demons. I'm a big fan of both of them from
Yeah,
Lamberto Bava.
yeah,
Had Aaron pop in the chat from A and B horror movies. I just did an After Dark live stream with him. Go check that out if you haven't had a
cool.
chance to see that. We went over horror anthologies, which was a lot of fun. But I just wanted to drop in, say hello. What's up, Aaron? Let's see. So do you feel like within this film, there's obviously some possession sequences. Did you feel like that like worked for the plot? Like, was it did it feel like kind of invasive whenever that was happening? Kind of, I mean, you could also use demons as kind of an example, which kind of
Mhm.
has a very similar premise.
Yeah, like I think if I'm gonna compare Night of the Demons and Demons,
Hmm.
I think this one is more fun. but I
Yep.
think Demons is more unsettling. Where like with Demons almost feels like something you're not supposed to be watching. Like it feels like
100%.
pretty hardcore and like pretty
Yep.
like whoa. This one doesn't feel like that to me. This one's just like a blast.
Yeah.
Um, like I said, like this, if a Halloween party was a movie, it would be Night of the Demons.
The special effects in this, they're just like, it just works. And
Yeah.
I don't know, how do you feel about the sequels? Are you a fan of the sequels, like 2 and 3?
I've never seen three. I'm a big fan of two.
Okay.
I'm back and forth on which one I think is better between one and two.
Ooh,
Because
okay.
I think it's pretty undeniable that two has better acting. It probably has better characters, although the characters in this one are really fun to watch. And the special effect, like the gags in that, are really good. Like Night of the Demons has that iconic Linnea Quigley boob moment, right?
Oh, yeah.
The sequel feels the need to have another special effect boob gag, and I think it's a better one. Like it's a better boob gore gag
Yeah.
in the second one. It's pretty amazing.
Pushes it up 1 star, right?
It does, yeah.
Um, and what makes Night of the Demons feel uniquely Halloween horror compared to other horror films, would you say? The
Oh,
party
well, definitely
atmosphere,
the
kinda?
yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Something else that I've noticed with some like 80s horror movies, whether it be Halloween movies or just take place at a costume party, is like it's an excuse to put the kids, the teens in different costumes that almost makes it feel like a slightly different subgenre. I
Oh,
think
yeah.
that's the most true of Hell Night, which I'm pretty sure Hell Night is not a Halloween movie. I think it's just a costume party, but
Okay.
they're all dressed in like 1800s costumes. So it almost feels like this Hammer horror movie,
Mhm.
even though it's technically not a period piece. And this movie has a bit of that vibe just in terms of like they're all dressed differently and it just makes the movie visually more
For
interesting.
sure. And I was actually gonna ask you, so, um, kind of in a under a different tone, how does this compare to other, like, possession or haunted location films, if you will? Like, what sets it apart with this film?
I'm actually not that big a fan of the demon possession genre, but
Okay.
I tend to like it best when it's different.
Yep.
Because I think like The Exorcist is a great movie, but I'm really never into like Exorcist copy movies, and that's most possession movies. But I like it when it's something unique, and this one I think is like this one in Demons. Like they take that demon possession idea and kind of turn it into something completely that feels completely different, and really like turns people into monsters, almost like zombies, but definitely distinct. Like they're not like they're very different than just zombies. And I think it's great. I think it's really cool.
Um, yeah, I agree. I think that these 3 films just I don't know, there's something about them that I there's a charm to them. I guess is the best way
Mhm.
to put it. There's a charm to these films, and they're fun, they're unique, there's likable characters, it's kind of a more of like a party Halloween movie in a lot of ways for any of these. Um, and we had one more that we were gonna talk about tonight,
Yeah.
and, talk about over the top. You wanna roll
Over the
out this
Top
one?
starring
Yeah.
Sylvester Stallone? It's not a Halloween movie.
Listen, we're gonna make an exception. I mean, it is Sylvester Stallone after all, right?
No, so my last movie, we were just talking about this. I don't own it, which is weird, but I picked Terrifier 2.
Hell yeah.
Um, I really think like, Terrifier 2 is new, so I think people are gonna have like some hesitancy on claiming it as like one of the best Halloween movies, like there hasn't been time. But it feels to me like one of the ultimate Halloween movies in terms of like certain sequences that are just like some of the best use of the holiday
Mhm.
for a horror film. Like the whole trick-or-treating thing when Art the Clown trick-or-treats with the girl, and then he comes in and you have the unbelievably horrifying kill scene in the yellow room. And then kids come to trick or treat, and Art the Clown answers the door and hands them candy in her head. He's like hollowed out her head. He put candy in there. He's giving them, they're taking the candy, thinking it's all a joke. And I remember seeing that and thinking, this is like one of the ultimate Halloween movies, like just because
Oh,
of that, like how they've
100
used trick or treating for that.
100%. Well, I know you said you don't have, the 4K or Blu-ray, but I've got the VHS for us
Oh, nice.
tonight.
High, very signed, it looks
Yeah,
like.
man. This was like right before um the film really popped off. Like I feel like, I think with 3 it kind of took things over the top with
Yeah.
the audience that they had, but yeah, I had a chance to meet a lot of the cast, got a lot of signatures, so it was pretty cool. Even Felissa Rose, I went there for sleepaway camp, and then she just was like, "You want me to sign that Terrifier 2 VHS too?" I'm like, "If you don't care." Like, you know?
Cool.
Yeah, but, okay, so now we know that with this film, this takes, like, the almost a Dream Warriors approach, I feel like, to this film in a lot of ways. I mean, it's a really big step up from All Hallows Eve and the first Terrifier. I mean, those are, like, straight up
Mhm.
grindhouse films, and then we get
Yeah.
this, and it's, like, fantasy, horror, supernatural elements to it, and now, following his resurrection, Art the Clown embarks on a relentless killing spree on Halloween night. His path crosses with Sienna Shaw, a teen who discovers she is destined to confront this malevolent force. As Art's terror escalates, Sienna must confront her own fears and uncover the dark secrets that bind her fate to his. Um, have you seen all the Terrifier movies then at this point then?
Yeah, for sure.
Would you consider this the standout out of the
Oh
ones?
yeah,
Okay.
for sure. And I've come around a lot on the first one, which like most people, I didn't particularly like when it first came out, but I've come around on it. And then I thought the third one was great. I've actually lately been feeling a lot of a big urge to rewatch the third one, but I'm like, I need to wait for Christmas, but I really
Yeah.
want to watch it again. But this one, I think this movie is like really something special. I think it's pretty terrific.
The opening, with the midnight equalizer.
Yeah, dude.
Ooh.
Okay, so I mentioned to you before we went live that I saw
Yeah.
this in theaters.
Yeah.
And this was a movie that I was like dying to see in theaters, and I didn't think I would be able to,
Okay.
because it played fairly limited release. But I was actually like out of town one weekend in October, and there was a theater in town playing it, and I was in town with my friend Chris, who's been on my channel a lot, and I was like, we gotta go see this movie.
Yeah.
So we went, and I remember I was kind of scared walking into this theater, and I never feel that. But like
Oh, really?
these Terrifier movies, just like they feel like anything goes, like anything can happen. It can be really sick. And I was like, I was nervous, but I was excited.
Yeah.
But I went in, and when the midnight started playing, which I love the midnight, I'm a huge
Yep.
fan.
Same. Same.
I immediately felt like, okay, I'm in good hands. Like I felt like I took a breath and I'm like, this is going to be a good experience. If this filmmaker loves the midnight, I'm going to go with anything he wants to show me.
Oh, man, the song choices, especially in this movie, Boy Harsher, uses, Dream Kid in, the 3rd one. There's the song selection for these films, especially with 2 and 3, I just think is what really shows that I think Damien Leone is trying to create his own vision with these films while very much paying homage to, I felt like, the 80s films that he probably grew up in. I mean, I remember even
Yeah.
talking to him, I was talking with Lauren Lavera,
Oh,
and
cool.
yeah, and she was saying that he was named Damien because of The Omen. I was like, well, this doesn't express that. This guy, is entrenched in horror. I don't really know what
Yeah.
would. But now, how do you think that the Terrifier 2 film compares to the original in terms of like the horror and maybe the scope of the movie? Because it's a pretty big jump in film.
Yeah, I mean, this might be a little bit flippant, but it's almost like this one is like a real movie where like the first one, I mean, Damien Leone will admit it's kind of a proof of concept. I think it works pretty well. When I first saw it, I didn't really care for it, but as I was getting more and more hyped up for Terrifier 2, I was like, let me go back and watch this again. And I liked it a lot better. I think I didn't give it enough credit the first time for like the things it really does do well.
Yeah.
And in a lot of ways, it is very well made, but it's not necessarily very well written. And it's not like a particularly interesting story, or the characters are sympathetic, I think, but
Mhm.
not interesting.
Correct.
And this one, like it feels like a real movie with like a story and characters. And Art the Clown, I don't know if he improves in this one because he is pretty fantastic in the first
Yeah.
one too. But I think the addition of the little girl is amazing.
Yeah.
She is so scary
Yeah.
to me.
I was well, okay, so we obviously didn't get her in the 3rd film,
Yeah.
but part of me is hoping that maybe for the 4th one, because this is gonna conclude these films, I'm hoping that she comes back in some
That'd be great.
capacity.
Because one thing I also love about these Terrifier movies, and some people don't, this is a common criticism,
Mhm.
but I love the slow reveal of the lore.
Oh, yeah.
Because a lot of people say, like, where are the answers? What is Art the Clown? What is this thing? Blah, blah. I mean, I think it's clear that Art the Clown has a demon friend, and the demon is at first the little girl, and then the next one, the demon takes the form of Victoria.
Yep.
Um, so clearly, like, there is demonic stuff involved, but I like slowly finding out what all crazy supernatural stuff is happening. I think it's really fun.
I just all that I ask is that I hope that the story sticks the landing for the 4th one. That's all that I want
Yeah,
because,
for sure.
it's hard because you're coming off of 2, and I don't know if I would put 3 quite on that same level. While I think it's an excellent movie, um, but 4, man, it's gonna be tough. I definitely hope that, Damien and the rest of the cast really take their time with it, because it's just I never in a million years thought that this franchise would be as big as it is. Now, how do you think that Sienna compares to other final girls in various slasher films?
I mean, I couldn't tell you exactly like where she ranks, but she does feel like she's one of the best ones. I
Mhm.
think like because she's really likable, she's really sympathetic, but not in this like overly innocent Virgin Mary kind of way. She feels like more of a badass,
Edgy.
but without like sacrificing her femininity, because she
Mhm.
doesn't necessarily feel like, Sarah Connor or something.
Yeah, no.
So she's really sympathetic, but also like she's cool,
Yeah.
and her Valkyrie outfit is awesome.
Oh,
And that
fuck
was
yeah.
almost like a slight disappointment with the third one for me, that she never wears it again.
Mhm.
But I just know in the fourth one, I'm like, we're going full Valkyrie, and it's gonna be
Oh,
like we're it's gonna be a battle, with her and Art the Clown. It's gonna be awesome.
I can't wait. And how do you feel like the Halloween setting do you feel like that heightens the stakes that we have for this film, or like maybe like the fear that we get, within the entire runtime of the movie?
I do really love that these movies are very seasonal holiday movies, and they're
Mhm.
now not Halloween specific because the third one's a Christmas movie, which I think I'm one of the only people in the world that called that. After I saw the second one, I was like, this is such a good Halloween movie. I don't think it can be topped as a Halloween movie, so we need to go to Christmas. And then they did it, and I
It's
couldn't believe
crazy.
it.
Well, and did you okay, it's so with them making that creative choice for the storyline, did you like that? Because um
Yeah,
I know a lot of
I love
people,
that.
it's either you love or hate holiday horror films, especially for Christmas. I have friends of mine who say, I don't want to clash something that is so innocent and pure with horror. I'm like, listen, maybe that's how you feel, but I don't.
I
Like,
agree,
give me
big
Black
time.
Christmas, give me Christmas Evil, Silent Night, Deadly Night.
And honestly, like, Christmas does not have all pure, innocent origins. Like, there is a lot of creepy mythology associated with Christmas too. And A Christmas Carol is probably the most important, well, other than, the biblical story.
Yeah, yeah,
Christmas Story is probably the most important Christmas story. A Christmas Carol, sorry. Christmas Carol. And that has ghosts. It's creepy, it's scary. It's traditional in England to tell ghost stories around Christmas time.
yeah.
So it's not, I think it fits more than people realize.
Now, would you say for Terrifier 2, the scariest part, Art the Clown himself, or the idea of anyone can basically be the next victim of him?
I think the scariest part is the little girl, and I think the same is true of 3, that the scariest part is Victoria. Victoria
Oof.
scares the hell out of me. She's so
The
scary.
I don't know, that's tough because they're very terrifying in different ways. Victoria is just like the disfiguration, her weird um quirks that she's into in that film.
Yeah,
um
yeah.
yeah.
I
And
was in the theater watching it just like, "Oh,
oh,
no."
don't feel bad. I was sitting next to my wife and I felt the amount of shame and guilt I felt overwhelmed with for dragging her to that movie. Just like it's like one of those moments where you just want to like crawl under the seat.
How did you not know what to expect
I
by the
mean,
3rd
it's so
one?
she likes the movies, but you know how it is, man. Of course, they're gonna be pushing the envelope. Like
And they
maybe,
do in the 3rd one. The 3rd one is even more hardcore than the 2nd one
yeah.
is.
The chainsaw scene, she was like, "What did you bring me to?" I'm like, "But you saw the other ones. You can't be too surprised."
Yeah.
Now, how do you feel like the practical effects contributed to this movie? Like, did you feel like that
Oh,
was like
yeah.
top tier?
Yeah, I mean, they're pretty much the star of the show because these Terrifier movies, they're such a lightning in a bottle thing. Because there are a lot of other indie horror movies that are going for a Terrifier kind of thing right now, and I've seen a
Mhm.
lot of them, and none of them hit this. Because, like, I mean, for one thing, the design of Art the Clown and David Howard Thornton's performance is so singularly perfect in a way that like most slasher villains don't hit those highs. And the gore has such an impact. And it's interesting because I've seen a lot of other recent horror movies that are going for extreme gore because that's the cool thing now because of Terrifier. And most of them don't impact like Terrifier does. Like Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2, I saw.
Yeah.
It's extremely violent. It's extremely gory, and it's
Yeah.
clearly trying to be Terrifier. But I wasn't like horrified or grossed out by really anything. Like it just doesn't have that secret sauce. And these movies, they have it. Like Damien Leone knows how to make an audience feel something. And just putting violent things on screen is not necessarily enough to do that.
The only film that I can think of in maybe the last couple of years that made me feel like that was When Evil Lurks. That is
Yeah, I'd
oh,
agree.
oh god.
That
I'll
movie's
never
got it.
I listen, I'm a big animal advocate. I love dogs, but that like that scene, without no spoilers, but that definitely had me feeling some type of way in the theater, and thank God I was by myself watching it for on that occasion. I just heard everything, surrounding the release, and it just seemed like it's definitely a me movie and not a me and my wife movie. So,
Yeah.
um, and lastly, I just wanted to ask, so we obviously know that there's a Terrifier 3 after, the second one, but just in general, do you feel like Art's final scene in Terrifier 2 questions whether evil ever truly dies? And I guess you could extend that really throughout all the films.
Hmm. Yeah, I love the final moment with Art so much in Terrifier 2 because I tend to always be pro supernatural with my horror movies. I do like some horror movies that are not supernatural, but pretty much anytime a franchise takes things in a supernatural direction, I'm really like always in favor of that because I just think it's interesting. So I love that Art the Clown is getting increasingly supernatural. And when you have that final moment when like Victoria has given birth to his head, I was like, this is so audacious and insane, and I'm so on board for it. It's like a
Yep,
Malignant kind of thing, right?
yep.
Like I just love it when these movies go nuts and just are willing to do anything. I think it's exciting.
I can't say that I've really outside of these movies, I would say the only franchise that I think comes close is Hatchet. Outside of that, I can't really think of any other films that are willing to go and really go all out when it comes to over the top gore and effects and um it's just I think it takes a specific creative team to make it work.
Yeah.
And, I'm really interested to see what Damian Leone does after Terrifier, because I can only imagine, like, he's probably got to have something cooking during this entire time he's coming up with this stuff. Um, but it's definitely a franchise that over the last couple years, like, I've really it's become very beloved for me. Um, and like I said, hopefully they can stick the landing on Terrifier 4. But with that being said, the night grows colder, the shadows linger longer, and Halloween's terrors continue to roam. But for now, our journey through fear comes to a close. So thank you everyone for joining us tonight at After Hours Video. And a special thank you to my friend Daniel from the Cobwebs channel for stopping by to share his scares and insights. Daniel, where can the listeners find you? Do you have anything coming up that you want to promote? Any appearances, anything like that?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me, man.
Of
This
course,
was
man.
fun. You're very good at like providing direction for conversation. Like that's very good host. I think
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
great.
Thank you.
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube, the Cobwebs channel. So I'll plug this video. I recently put out a video on my top 100 horror movies of all time
Mm,
ranked. It was an insane undertaking,
God
and
bless you, man.
so people could go check that out. As far as upcoming, I'm speaking of like part twos. I'm working on a video where I'm going to be like ranking my favorite part twos in horror franchises specifically, and I think
Ooh,
that'll be fun. With
okay.
Black Phone 2 coming out, seems like a good time.
Yeah, absolutely. And then where can everyone find you at on social media? Do you want to plug that real quick?
Sure. Cobwebs channel on Instagram. That's pretty much my most active social media. Like I'm technically on like Twitter and Blue Sky, but I don't really do anything there anymore. So yeah, Instagram.
It's too much stuff, man. Hard to keep up with
Yeah, it
everything, you
is.
know?
Yeah.
And you guys can find me at After Hours Video. Hours is abbreviated. I'm on most social media platforms, and actually have an After Dark episode coming up on October 21st with Garrett from Born to Be Rad.
Ooh,
Really
nice.
excited for that. It's actually going to be a Wes Craven appreciation
Oh,
episode.
one of my
So,
top favorite directors. That's
oh,
great.
I'm so excited. We were trying to pick a director to cover, and felt like this time of year, who better than Wes Craven, right?
Totally.
Um, Outside of that, I'm a co-host on Beyond the Blood podcast with my buddy Chris, Bearded Film Guy. We actually just recently had an episode that we did an interview with the director of Frogman, Anthony Cousins, which you guys can stream that
That's
now.
another one of my favorite found footage movies.
Yeah, yeah. And we actually have an oversized sleepaway camp episode coming up. So um, keep your eyes out for that. We were able to interview Catherine Kami, Karen Fields, and Tom Vandell from Sleepaway Camp. So it was a lot of fun. Super pumped to get that one out there. Um, but outside of that, gather your friends, dim the lights, and prepare for a Halloween marathon you'll never forget. You can handpick your next movie marathon over at Valoria Video. There we go. um, and use promo code after hours 10 for 10% off your order just in time for Halloween. And what do I have to say? Keep your doors locked, your lights dimmed, and your pumpkins burning bright, because the horrors of Halloween are never truly gone. Until next time, stay haunted and stay tuned for more After Dark. See you guys on the next one.